All right, this video is going to cover Chapter 13 of Improving Vocabulary Skills. Go ahead and get your book open. We'll go over the answers to 10 words in context here. All right, so our first thing we'll do is just go ahead and read through the vocabulary words and take a guess as to the parts of speech. So our first word here is congenial, flippant, impasse, perception, prompt, prone, rapport, rationale, relentless, reprisal. All right, so our first word here is congenial, and this one is an adjective. I was nervous being at a party where I didn't know anyone, but the other guests were so congenial that I soon felt at ease. Beware of friendships that begin in internet chat rooms. People who seem congenial online may be anything but pleasant in real life. So congenial means is friendly. Congenial is an adjective, so it's used to describe people or behavior that is friendly. Now I was just trying to think of the word parts here. I don't know exactly what genial means, but con it has that meaning of with. But when we describe someone as being congenial, it has the sense of their being friendly in a way to make you feel comfortable with them. So this would be a difference between just generally saying someone is friendly, which is a description, and saying someone is congenial. So that when you say that someone is congenial, it has more of a meaning of the person is being friendly in a way to make you feel comfortable with them, or in a way to make you feel like you want to be friends with them. Okay, so in congenial, it may have more of the meaning of someone being polite. So we wouldn't necessarily say, my friend is congenial, whereas we would say my friend is friendly, because congenial is more you're trying to get someone to be friends with you, not someone you're already friends with. Our next word here is flippant, and this is also an adjective. Don't give me a flippant answer, George's father told him. Your financial situation is a serious matter. When a teenage boy is asked to clean his room, he's likely to give a flippant response such as, "Why should I? I just cleaned it last month." So means rude, but it also means not serious. It's you're giving a response in a way that is impolite, but it's also saying that whatever the question is, or whatever the statement is, or whatever the concern is not important to you. So in the first example, the father is telling his son, "Don't be flippant," meaning don't take this thing unseriously. You need to be serious about this matter. If you give a flippant response, you're being rude in a way where you're like, "Who cares? I don't care about that." Teenagers are well known for being flippant, especially with their parents. So their parents will ask them a specific thing, and they'll give a flippant response, where the intention of the response is, one, to be impolite, but also to be dismissive of the concern. And by dismissive, I mean saying, well, whatever it is you're asking me about is too stupid or unimportant for me to give a serious response to. Our next word here is impasse, and this is a noun. The jurors had reached an impasse. They couldn't agree on a verdict. Some thought the defendant was the murderer, but others were sure he was innocent. If you think you've reached an impasse when you try solving a problem, take a break. The solution may occur to you while you're doing something else. So what an impasse means is a deadlock. Now, when I think of this word, I break it down into the two parts, im and pass. Now, the pass part of it, the second part, the PASSE, isn't the same as PASS, but it's helpful in remembering the meaning. So generally, like in impossible, means not. And then pass, right, means to go through. So when we say that something is at an impasse, it means that you can't go through. An impasse is not usually used for physical things. So you wouldn't say that there was an impasse on the highway. There was an accident, so there was an impasse. Nobody could get through. But an impasse usually means is that when you come to a point in an argument or a conversation or in trying to solve some sort of problem, you come to a point where you can't continue anymore. Now, you can't continue on to get the solution. So in the first example, the jurors reached an impasse. What this means is that they couldn't decide on whether or not the defendant was innocent or guilty. So in this case, they came to sort of a roadblock in their ability to come to a decision. In the second example, it's more talking about solving a problem. Particularly, I found this in math. But if you're working on a problem and you just can't figure it out, you're at an impasse, meaning that you can't get to the solution. And it gives you the suggestion of taking a break. So an impasse means that there's a roadblock or something blocking you to get to a decision or to get to a solution. But it doesn't mean that it's that there isn't a way around it or there isn't a way to fix it. It just means at that point where there's an impasse, there's no going forward. There's no finding a solution at that specific point. Our next word here is perception, and this one ends in the shun, making it a noun, the tion. Brenda's perception of others are usually accurate. She is a good judge of character. Our perceptions of our problem differ. Tonya explained. Sam thinks money is the main issue, but I believe it's a question of who controls the purse strings. Perception means view. And here, if you look at these sentences, you see that in both cases, perception is followed by the preposition of. Now, unlike some other things where 90 or more % of the time a word is followed by a specific preposition, perception isn't always followed by of, but it often is followed by of. So your perceptions of whatever means your opinion or your view of something. Perception is related to the word perceive. Perceive means to notice or to see something. Right? So perception really means how do you see things? How do you view things? Not necessarily with your eyes, but what is your opinion about a certain thing? So in the first one, it says her perception of others, meaning that her opinion of other people are usually accurate. She's good at judging people's characters. In the second one, the people are looking at the problem differently. The way that Tonya sees it is different than the way that Sam sees it. So your perception of something, meaning how do you view the problem, or what do you think the problem is the perception. Our next word here is prompt. And this one is a verb. Now, we'll talk about this because you may already know the word prompt as a noun, and we'll talk about that one a little bit too. To prompt her son, Brian, to get a job, Mrs. Davis pinned the want ads to his pillow. Fast food clerks prompt customers to spend more money by asking such questions as, would you like cookies or apple pie with that? So prompt means to encourage. All right. Before I get into that, let me talk about the noun form of prompt. A prompt is if you are writing an essay in class, the teacher will often give you a prompt, which is a noun. In that case, a prompt means this is what you need to write about. These are the topics that you have to write about. When you took the placement test for ESL, for the writing, you were given 2 prompts, right? 2 choices of what you could write about. Now, in a sense, the meaning is still the same as the verb to encourage. The prompt means to suggest. So a prompt, the noun, is 2 suggestions of what you can write about. Now, in that case, you didn't have any other choices. Those were the only choices you have. But it has the meaning like, why don't you think about this and write? Or why don't you think about that and write about it? So to prompt means to encourage someone to do something. So in the first example, the thing she's prompting her son to do is to get a job. So you can see that it says prompt and then a person and then a verb to da da da. So in the first one, prompts her son to get a job. In the second one, they prompt the customers to what? Spend more money. Okay, so prompt means you're trying to get someone to do something. One of the ways that we prompt, if we're driving, we prompt other drivers is by like honking our horn, right? If we're sitting at a stoplight, we prompt the driver in front of us who's looking at his phone to start moving, right? But a teacher in class may also prompt the students to open up their books and to start studying, meaning that you're trying to get someone to do something specific. Our next word here is prone, and this one is an adjective. Mr. Walker is prone to sleep problems, so he limits his intake of caffeine. Prone to fits of laughter during class, Chris controls himself by chewing on his pen. So prone means tending. Now, I'll explain that a little bit more. But first, if we look at prone in both of these sentences, we see that it's followed by to, right? So prone to sleep problems and prone to fits of laughter. So what prone means is that you have a likelihood of doing something. When you're prone to something, it means that you're naturally inclined to do something. So in the first one, he's prone to sleep problems. So he has a hard time sleeping, right? In the second one, this guy Chris is prone to laughing out in class, right? Just sort of this is his natural thing. It's something that if you don't control it, it's going to happen. We wouldn't really say that someone is prone. Hopefully not that someone is prone to cheating, because that's not something that if you don't control it, you're naturally going to do. Hopefully not. But some people are prone to lying, right? Some people, if they don't watch themselves, they just naturally tell lies, and they have to watch themselves to make sure. Some people may be prone to volunteering to do too much. So, for example, some people who, if you ask them to do it, they'll always be like, yeah, okay, yeah, sure, even if they don't have much time. So if they're not careful about it, if they don't watch it, they'll end up doing too much of that thing, or that thing will become a problem for them. Our next word here is rapport, and this one is a noun. And remember that the T at the end of this word is not pronounced. I believe that this is a French word, but don't say report, because that sounds too much like report or report, which is like something that you write, but it's rapport. In high school, I had such good rapport with my gym teacher that our close relationship continues to this day. If no rapport develops between you and your therapist after a month or two, start looking for a counselor who makes you feel comfortable. So what it means is a personal connection. Okay, so rapport is often followed by with, but you can see that it's not in the second example. With, it's not followed by with, so it's not all the time. But rapport means a connection between two people, right? So you have, in the first example, this person has rapport with with her gym teacher, which is a good personal connection. In the second example, if you're going to therapy, psychiatrist, right, you need to have rapport with your therapist, because this is the kind of relationship where if you don't feel comfortable with your doctor, it's not going to, therapy is not really going to work for you very, very well. One of the things personally that I struggle with is that I try to have rapport with the students in my class to get a good personal relationship with each student. It doesn't always happen, and sometimes that can be that can be a difficulty, both for me and I think also for the students. If you don't feel a personal connection with the teacher, it's hard to be motivated to work in that class, and it's hard to be excited about going to that class. Unfortunately, we don't always have rapport with our teachers. Sometimes we will, and sometimes we won't. But rapport really is that good connection between two people. And from your life in meeting people, there's just some people you have rapport with. For some reason, you meet them, boom, and you get along really well. And there's just some people where that never happens. You just don't, there's no spark, there's no connection. Okay? And rapport is not like a sexual or romantic thing. It just means a level of comfort with someone. Our next word is rationale. And this one is also a noun. Danielle's rationale for majoring in business was simple. She said, I want to make a lot of money. The rationale for not lowering the drinking age to 18 is that self-control and good judgment are still being developed at that age. Okay? So what it means is an explanation. But we'll notice that in both of these, rationale is followed by the preposition for. So it's an explanation for something specific. When I think of rationale, I think of it also as the reason for something, the main reason for something. So in the first example, the main reason that she's studying business is that she wants to make a lot of money. In the main reason that 21 is a legal drinking age instead of 18 is this idea that 18-year-olds don't have enough self-control and good judgment. I think some 21-year-olds don't either. I think some 31-year-olds don't either, but that's a different issue altogether. But your rationale is basically the reason for doing something or for some specific decision. Our next word here is relentless, and this is an adjective. The less, when you see a word that ends in less, I would say 95% of the time, if not 100, it is an adjective. Less means without, and we can talk about what that means in this situation. So the dog's relentless barking got on my nerves. He barked the entire 2 hours his owners were out. In a large city, the noise of crowds and heavy traffic is so relentless that it can be difficult to find peace and quiet. So means non-stop. Okay, so let's look at this word relentless. Relentless comes from two words, relent and then the suffix less. So relent means to give up or to stop, right? To relent, if you relent, it means you give up. So relentless means you don't give up. It means that it continues. So in the first example, it says that barking was relentless. It means it didn't stop. It kept on going, continued over and over and over and over and over again. In the second one, it's talking about the noise of a city is relentless. If you go to a big city like New York or Hong Kong or Beijing or something like that, actually I don't know about Beijing, but there's always noise, right? The noise doesn't stop. It continues without stopping. And here, our last word here is reprisal, and this one's a noun. In reprisal for being fired, a troubled man shot several people at the factory where he used to work. Fear of reprisal may keep children from telling parents or teachers about a bully who has threatened them. So means revenge. Okay, so reprisal has this meaning of uh, it's different from the word retaliate that we've already studied before. Retaliate means to take revenge. Means that if you retaliate, you are doing something to someone else. Reprisal is different. Reprisal is what someone else does for revenge. So it's not the action. It's not taking the action, but it's the thing that they do, or oftentimes reprisal. Well, reprisal is always the second thing that happens. That is to retaliate for something. In the first example, right, in reprisal for being fired, right, the first thing that happened was he was fired from his job, and then the second thing, the reprisal, was shooting the people at the work. Right. Unfortunately, this happens from time to time. In the second one, here it's saying fear of reprisal, meaning you're worried about what's going to happen to you if you tell your parents or your teacher that someone is bullying you. So just because you're afraid of what that bully might do to you, you don't do anything. Okay, so retaliate is the action. Reprisal is the act, the thing that is done. All right, so go ahead and finish off your exercises and bring any questions to class. All right, take care. Bye.